Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We have Coach Jay Johnson here live. Coach, how you doing today?
Good. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing good. We're doing good. Congratulations on the first weekend in SEC play, coming out with a series win. That's always tough to do on the road, especially in the SEC. Just quickly, I guess right out the gate, we get started with it. What is your feeling on the overall first weekend and how your team kind of went out there and performed, and what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was definitely more positive than negative. Starting with Friday, got a great performance again out of Paul Skenes, completely dominant. Offense came out ready against Nathan Detmer, who was a returning all SEC pitcher, supposed to also be a top 50 pick in his own right. Did a great job there. Saturday fell behind 4-0. Really the first time in a while that we've been trailing in a game, and couldn't respond better. I think we had a 6-run fourth inning, and finished that game off great. Sunday, got off to a great start. Obviously, would have liked to have finished that off with a sweep. Bill Frankus had told me today LSU had never swept Texas A&M at Texas A&M, so that was one that I want for that too. There's not a lot of firsts you can get as the LSU coach, that's for sure. But no, I thought it was good. I mean, we obviously wanted to finish that off yesterday. I think you could point to a couple reasons why we didn't, and I think those are controllable. So, we had a good weekend and learned a little bit more that's going to make us better moving forward yesterday.
So when you recruit kids and you go out and look at them, obviously talent is pretty high on the list, and your ability and where you see that actually being able to go. But watching the kids make up, kind of trying to predict how it would fit into your program, and then also how it would fit as they, face the competition in the league. When you look at a guy like Paul Skenes, and then you obviously know what you're getting physically. You obviously know what you think you have in him as a person. But seeing it is something different. And there's tests and little benchmarks and check marks as the season goes, right? On the road, in a hostile environment, at A&M for the first time in the SEC. Let's be honest, it's a check mark you want to see, right? The way he was able to go out there and do it, please speak to it, because it's super impressive.
Yeah, there was never a question in my mind either. Just the mental game with him is superb, and when you match that with the talent that he has and the competitiveness and the preparation, and I mean, all he wants to talk about Saturday is what does he need to do better next week? What's the next phase of his evolution as a player? And guy just had a dominant outing for the 5th week in a row, and the only thing he's talking about after the game is the next thing he needs to do to get better. So that's just an example of his competitive makeup and character.
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable watching him, man. Like, it almost looked like he was kind of toying around with the situation. Like, watching him basically, like, welcome the noise and the outside noise, but still able to hone it in from pitch to pitch is incredible. You don't see that much.
What is that, transfer portal? What was that? What are we getting?
Who was that? No.
Skip calling you? No, you can't win 3 in a row.
Yeah, exactly, right. But yeah, like I said, with Paul, you know what you have on a Friday. Most of my teams have been, based around great offense, but to have a true ace like that, it completely changes the complexion of a series or what you're doing. And, last year it was really evident, like, if we want to compete for a national championship, you have to have that. Like, you can't win the national championship anymore without having future major league pitchers on our roster. And, Paul certainly sets the tone, with that, and got us off to a good start on Friday.
No doubt. And I hate to bring it up, but it's obviously somebody that struggled a little bit was Paxton Kling. What do you do with somebody as a freshman that goes into their first SEC weekend on the road and doesn't have the type of the productivity you would want? Is there any kind of change that you make going into Tuesday or going to a next SEC series, or you just kind of ride him out because of how talented he is?
Well, I mean, talent is not a question with him. And I think one of the more encouraging things, I was kind of looking around the field yesterday, a number of guys that were playing in that game. And again, a game we were winning until, 4 outs to go. I mean, we completely handled the series, for all but 4 outs the way that you want to. But a number of the guys that are at the forefront of this thing are going to be here next year. And, to be in a position where we have this quality of team with, as many guys to have the potential to return that are making a positive impact is a really good spot to be in. And, this is a big jump. I probably have talked about it with you guys before, just to Division I baseball, but to the top of SEC from high school baseball. That's like, you're diving into the deep end, from, the highest high dive. And there's some challenges with that. That's just part of growing, and that's part of learning. And, Paxton, he'll be fine. And we'll get to work on some things this week, but I think we'll look back on it as a good learning experience.
And Coach, whenever you continue to look at your lineup and going into, obviously you have a midweek game that you've taken very seriously, the crux around what LSU thinks about midweek games and how the fan base reacts. What did you think of everybody? What did you think of how your weekend went and the fan reaction? Obviously, you're not going to win all, how many games do you play? 56?
56.
You're not going to win all 56, but I feel like taking 2 of 3 from an A&M team that was, as you said, was predicted to win by a bunch of SEC coaches. Do you feel like this was a win for the weekend?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like I was disappointed after the game yesterday because, for me, it's not about series sweeps. It's not even about series wins. It's about the next game that's on the schedule. And we were prepared to play yesterday. We came out, we're up 5-1, 5-2, got out of a jam, added another run on, was ahead 6-4, got out of 2 jams. And, they deserve to win. Tucker, coming into the game and getting 2 hits and making that diving catch, I don't know if they win the game if they don't insert that guy into the lineup. I'm really happy he wasn't in the rest of the weekend.
Right, yeah.
As far as I don't have any reaction to anybody else's reaction because I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I can tell you guys, and we've talked enough to know this, we treat every game like a playoff game. Tomorrow night is Game 7 of the World Series for me. And I think that's the way that you should approach the season. And it does a couple things. Obviously, it helps you, not maybe stumble where you shouldn't. But every game with us is taken with the utmost respect. And that's how I want our players to approach it. So that way, when you get to the postseason, they only know one way to play. Right. And my teams have typically played very well in the postseason. And I think it stems from a model of consistency of we treat every game like a playoff game. And so, I'm pleased to go in and win 2 out of 3. I know they were in the coaches poll. We're one of the teams that had the most votes to win the national championship this year. I'm not going to lose sight of the fact that, we went on the road to a very veteran team that was in Omaha last year and won 2 out of 3. It's just a good accomplishment. Now, do I wish we would have won yesterday? 1,000%. So you can have a balance in there. And probably the most important thing is the only thing that's important is moving on. And over the course of 10 SEC weekends, you don't have the time to look back and go hey, I wish we'd have did this here. It's we got a huge week coming up this week, and so we have to get to that. And that's what I stress to the players after the game is for the next 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 14 weeks, you have to master the skill of moving on, whether we succeeded or failed. And I have no doubt that they'll do that this week.
Coach, so now without being very, very much tested, I guess, throughout the weekend as far as for being able to match up with your roster Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with the competition that's been on the schedule so far. With Ty and Thatcher only going 3 1/3 Saturday and Sunday, what were you able to learn about the bullpen as far as for guys being able to maybe go back-to-backs and or throw multiple times over the weekend and kind of who can fit in and who can kind of really step up and show out and do things that you maybe either slated them to do or didn't know if they could do it yet?
Yeah, I think looking back to Saturday, and he's done it 4 or 5 times already, Garrett Edwards, really picked us up in that game. Really, really picked us up in that game. And that was awesome to see. I have great faith in him. Through 66 pitches, and that's a good number. That's almost like a starter, in that regard. And so if you're going to get 7 innings combined out of 2 guys with, the lead and enough in the bullpen to finish it out, I'm good with that. I mean, we had to be far more creative last year than using 2 guys for 7 innings to put ourselves in position to win. So I really liked Garrett. What's that?
I said call Coop. That was all you could do.
Well, and then he came in and did a good job, and we were able to get him out. And then Sunday, we had the lead and we lost it. But if you look at what some guys did at the outset of coming in, there was a lot of traffic on base. And Riley came in and got a double play ball. Wasn't as good in the next inning, but he did come in and get us out of a jam. And then Chase Shores came in and got us out of a big jam. Yeah. And I thought it very well for, being in that atmosphere for the first time. I thought that was a really, really good sign. And then with Christian, I mean, we were an out away from getting out of that mess and taking a 2-run lead to the 9th. And so, you credit them sometimes. They did a good enough job getting base runners on and putting pressure on us where eventually they cracked. And we kind of did the same thing the day before to them. Right. So, I thought it was more positive than maybe the results. We did not do a good job of getting ahead in the count yesterday. We were under 50% at that. And it's too good of an opponent to where they're eventually gonna find a way. And they did with Wells and Tucker taking good at-bats right there.
Coach, somebody that really didn't get talked about a lot preseason and didn't really get a lot of ABs early, but got a big chance this weekend and took advantage of it was Josh Pearson. What went into giving him that shot on Friday, and then what went into his performance this weekend?
Yeah, good weekend for Josh. I've had total faith in him and confidence and trust. And, the decisions aren't always just, hey, this player over this player. It's what does the team need? And, man, it was windy as could be out there. And the home run was tough to come by. I think there was only 2 hit the entire series. I just felt like we needed to defend in the outfield. And I felt like we needed somebody in the lineup that was going to move the ball forward because, behind Dylan Cruz and White and Dugas, those guys are going to be on base. And I just wanted somebody to be able to move the ball forward with runners on base. And we needed it to be a left-handed hitter. And I thought he would provide that. And great weekend for Josh. And he's been working hard. And we have a good roster, so sometimes it's you can play the hot hand, and his numbers or performances weren't necessarily loud leading into it, but he's getting on base a lot. And he was taking quality at bats, and obviously I know what he can do against this caliber of competition. So I just believed it was the right time to insert him.
Coach, I want to know kind of what went in your thought process of this. I kind of circled Jared Jones in my mind, seeing what he would do on the weekend, because I thought it would be a huge kind of test to see how the rest of the lineup would be pitched and also how they would actually attack him. Now, your move to actually put Gavin Dugas in that spot and hit him behind Tommy, I thought was an unbelievable move. What went into your thought process of doing that?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And, when you have good players like we do, you have the affordability to maybe shuffle the deck from time to time. And, it kind of goes along with what I just talked about, where to me, every game is a playoff game. Every game carries weight. If you want to, A, just be in the postseason, you need to win as many games as you can. B, if you want to host a regional, host a super regional, these all matter. And so looking at the opponent, the pitching matchup, looking at how their bullpen was structured, and Texas A&M has a very good bullpen. Right. You want to make sure you make the most of the times that you get runners on base. And I felt like Gavin had been taking good at bats. It was a good place to put him. Paxton had been playing very well going into the weekend. And he adds a different dynamic in that leadoff spot when he's going good. And then knowing we had Josh kind of in between Gavin and Jared to move the ball forward, I just kind of gave you hey, here's a good on base guy. Here's a guy that can hit a line drive somewhere with power all throughout. It's a nice luxury to have that. I mean, then you're sitting like, I think Jordan Thompson's, one of the better players in the SEC this year. And I mean, he's hitting the 8-hole or 9-hole. And, and Brady Neal, I thought, did a nice job both behind the plate, starting them all 3 games this weekend and had some good at-bats for us. So real positive on the offensive side. I mean, we went in and scored, not a math major, but, 27 runs in 3 games on the road against, a team with, pro prospects all over their pitching staff. And they weren't very comfortable the whole weekend. Yeah. And, it's credit to the whole lineup.
Now, it's early. I know it's early. You know it's early, but we've heard so much grumbling about it. I would just love for you to be able to kind of give your thought process on this. Are you concerned at all with the roster's performance against left-handed pitching at this point of the year?
No, I mean, we're undefeated. We're undefeated against left-handed pitching, so that's
all that matters at the end of the day. Well, there's one stat that matters.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, here's the thing: when a left-hander comes out and throws a complete game against us, then maybe you could say that, but it's going to take more than one pitcher to hold us down for 27 outs. And I just don't think there's a lot of guys that can do it. Now, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen because this is the SEC. We're playing at the top of college baseball. I mean, I think the next 5 weekends, maybe even 6 on our schedule are against ranked teams, and on generally at the top half of the top 25 rankings. But, I think maybe it's the product of being spoiled a little bit when you're hitting 330 as a team and have like a 460 on base percentage or something like that. That just is part of baseball, and, hitting's hard. And, I think I looked at the numbers today, and I mean, Troy Wansing, the starter on Saturday, was left-handed, and he had 33 strikeouts in 19 innings, and he didn't get out of the 3rd inning. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I guess you could easily say and point to, if we're just looking at from last year's team to this year's team year 1 of Jay Johnson to year 2 of Jay Johnson, I think the biggest quote-unquote surprise so far has been how well the defense has played. Would you accredit that performance by your defense to be from actual defensive play, or would you put a little bit more of the credit being on the actual mound performance that you're getting from pretty much the entire staff right now?
Yeah, complimentary baseball. Like, to play good defense, I think a very underrated quality of that is the pitchers executing pitches. So they actually hit it to where you're playing, or they hit it less and there's a strikeout. And we're certainly better on the mound. Like, I mean, we have the best pitcher in the country going on Friday. We have really capable guys starting every game. We have capable guys we can bring in that can execute pitches. They're ahead in the count, so you get a little weaker contact as opposed to being behind in the count when the hitter knows a certain pitch is coming and can blast it. Those balls that are hit harder are a lot harder to field. But we worked, on the work side, we worked really hard on it. Tommy White, very motivated to become a really good defensive player at third base. Jordan Thompson has played exceptional at shortstop. Dugas, we moved him to the infield. He's done a good job. Ben Napolt has played great in the infield. Trey's been good at first.
And left.
Yeah, and left. Yeah, outfield, you're looking at, Dylan has become an outstanding center fielder. Paxton is a center fielder playing right field. And really every guy that we've played in left has done a job. And, the outfield isn't that hard to play in the SEC because the fields are also small. The catchers have done a good job handling the pitching staff. So there's a lot to go around, and I'm very pleased with the defensive effort so far.
A quick one here for you, Coach. Obviously, you saw a little bit of a shift that happened with A&M whenever they were what they were doing defensively, where Trey Morgan hit 2 right up the middle, where it feels like they should have been base hits. Is that something that you expect to see going forward, or is that just A&M doing a little bit of advanced scouting, or what? I mean, you can't really blame Trey for any of those things. They're supposed to be base hits.
Yeah, there was the one that was tough was the one yesterday, and it was just a hard ground ball, but
right up the middle.
It was thick. it was 6-4, and that would have made it 8-4 because we had runners on second and third, which I firmly believe we're definitely going to win that game if that one would have got through. But credit them. They have a guy on their staff named Chuck Box that does a lot of scouting stuff for them and does a really good job. And he hit the ball hard right at people, but again, it's where you don't want to overreact to something on the surface, because we asked him to hit the ball hard and low. He's really good at hitting the ball hard and low. He did it a couple times right at people. He had 2 base hits early in the game on Friday night, doing the same thing, and just nobody was standing there. So, he's doing fine. And, we were able to, from a hitting standpoint, we've done about as good a job as you can of using the whole field, throughout the lineup. And we actually beat that shift a few times. So it's, I think it's a complex thing.
All right, looking ahead, you have Central Arkansas tomorrow, Arkansas this weekend. Obviously, one game at a time. Is there anybody that we didn't see this weekend, maybe a Griffin Herring or a Micah Bucknam, that might get some time on the mound tomorrow before Arkansas comes into town?
100%. I mean, we used guys twice for the first time this weekend. We used a couple guys, got up into the 60 pitch count both Saturday and Sunday, so they're not available. So, yeah, we'll be piecing it together, and I'm really excited about it because, this team was built, by design with depth for situations like this. You mentioned Griffin Herring. For me, that's the one guy that needs to pitch more and will pitch more, and he'll be in the game tomorrow night for sure. There's no question about that. Micah Bucknam was really making some improvements, and we just kind of hit that weird deal with the 10-run rule, where we kept scoring 1 billion runs and not giving up any runs, and then it got to the point where hey, I need to get this guy in the game because he's going to pitch next weekend at Texas A&M. So a couple of those guys got shut out a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be the case going forward, and I'm good with that because I feel good about the list of pitchers we have for tomorrow, and looking forward to seeing them execute.
Coach, don't apologize for 10 running teams. It's okay.
Yeah, first world problem.
Exactly.
Right?
Coach, we don't want to keep you, so I got one more question, or I guess a comment I'd like to hear out of you. We mentioned him earlier in the year. He's missed a good bit of the year. I don't think people realize exactly what Tommy White has been able to bring and add to this lineup. Can you just speak on his veteran approach and his ability to actually hit in clutch situations? The guy's got 34 RBIs in 17 games right now. That is unbelievable.
It's a mean squad with 2 strikes.
Sign me up for 2 a game forever. I'll take that.
I'll put that in the lineup every day.
Yeah, Dylan Cruz and Tommy back-to-back's not bad.
Yeah, no, that's one you wish you could bottle up forever, for sure. He's doing a great job. I think he came in with a really good foundation and understanding. I think the coachability part of it has been really good. And what I mean by that is you can give him one thing before he goes to the plate, and he literally does it. And it was interesting. In his last at bat, he swung at a ball, and it was almost surprising because he's been so locked in for the last 2.5 weeks. And man, the 2-strike hitting thing, the hitting with runners in scoring position, a guy can hit it 500 feet. But he has the maturity to stay within himself and do what he needs to do to help the team win. And that was about as clutch of weekend as you could ask from one hitter with runners in scoring position and the quality of the bat. So, yeah, certainly glad he's wearing purple for the next 2 years.
100%. Coach, thank you so much for your time this week. Good luck this weekend against the entire state of Arkansas, basically.
Coach, we one game at a time. We're on to Tuesday.
The entire state of Arkansas, basically, this week. And just go ahead.
I didn't even put that together until you said that. So that's good.
Good luck, Coach. Thank you, and we'll talk to you again soon, man.